Hi, Pastor Tom here with another little Bible study tip for you. This one is on literary structure, and it's called Climax. And the idea is that the story builds to this climax, and then it usually kind of trickles off in momentum and emotion and what's taking place. I have four short examples for you I want to share. I'm not going to read them, but I'll just tell you about them. First of all, the Gospels themselves. For instance, Matthew. It starts with Jesus is this baby who's born, this sweet child, and it ends with him being crucified and all the tension that builds up to that through the passion and the crown of thorns and all. And then all of a sudden they nail him to a cross, and it's like, wow, how do we go from this baby to the cross? And that's the climax of the story, and we think it's the end, but then God continues the story on, and then he's raised from the dead, and it's like, wow, it's almost like a double climax. But so the whole thing builds to this crescendo at the end. There's a sense, secondly, in which the whole Bible is written that way. We start with God creating the world, and we end with this tremendous place called heaven, which kind of pulls it all together. There are a couple specifics in the Old Testament. We'll start there. In the book of Genesis, it's a story about Joseph, who's sold into slavery by his brothers who hate him, and he becomes the prince of Egypt and so forth. And then he saves and rescues his family from a famine, brings them to Egypt, and then his father dies, and his brothers were to death that he's going to get vengeance on them for all the evil that they have done to him. And it builds attention to the last chapter, really, of the book, when Joseph says to his brothers who are bowing before him, which is a fulfillment of a dream that he had, and he says, "You meant it for evil, but God meant it for good." And it's like, wow, man, look at that statement that's just been said. Pulls the whole story together. I mean, it's just a beautiful, beautiful passage of Scripture. And then the last one I'll share with you is when Jesus is in the boat with the disciples, a storm comes, and Jesus is sleeping. And they're just struggling, straining at the oars. Somebody's probably bailing water with a bucket, and they're worried for their life, these seasoned veteran seamen, these fishermen. And finally, out of desperation, they wake him up. And, "Jesus, how could you sleep through this? Don't you know we're dying?" And Jesus gets up and what's he going to do? And he rebukes the wind and the wave. And you go, wow, Eureka, this guy can do anything. Even the weather obeys him instantly. It was just amazing. And then he goes on to talk to them about faith and so forth. And who knows, maybe he went back to sleep. I don't know. This has been Pastor Tom with another little insight for you on how to study the Bible. And this one is climax. Stories build to a climax. And it's easier to see in a story than it is some of the theological writings of Paul that can go on and run on sentences. So I hope you'll do three things. Read the text, talk about the text, apply the text to life. God bless you. Have a good day.